What is up? And I am Randy, and today we are bringing to you the updated cubic deck profile with the new support that came out of Duel Overload recently. That actually makes the deck kind of complete now, really. But I say, of course, this is still basically a going blind second OTK machine. Like this deck just wants to do damage, OTK, and then burn for 3k at the end, and say call it a day to move on. So without further ado, let's just get right into the deck profile. Now, of course, because it is cubics, we are still rocking the three boss monster. Of course, this is your main win con, Crimson Nova. You should all know what he does by now, but if you don't, to special summon him, all you have to do is reveal three different cubic say cards with different names, and because of the new support, that makes it a hell of a lot easier now. And then he cannot be affected by monsters whose original attack is 3,000 or less, so it basically protects him from most monster effects, which is awesome. And then when he destroys a monster by battle, he can just attack again, so insane. And then the only hard once per turn on him is the end phase effect, where you burn both you and your opponent for 3,000, which is where most times you're going to be taking the game. So Crimson Nova, definitely the main win con. Now your basically your main normal summon of the deck is your three Duzas. Kind of sad this didn't get a secret rare say printing inside this the Dark Side Dimensions a secret rare say set that came out, so it's kind of odd now. But I prefer all the ultras, so say matching rarities. But he's basically your foolish burial goods for any of your cubic cards. So insane. So basically, you can dump your karma, your wave, anything you need. I mean, he has a secondary effect where basically he boosts his attack or something like that. But you're never rarely ever go into it. Now for your seed. Three Vijam. If you don't open up any combo pieces, Vijam's just a nice body to sit on. Can't be struck by battle. Can put cubic counters on cards, which cubic counters make your opponent's monsters not attack, and they cannot activate their effects. So definitely good. So if you do open really bad, Vijam's pretty nice to sit on. But he's essential for basically some of the new traps. So definitely rocking him at 3 is definitely good. Now for the other names, Buster Gundle, he's just more of an OTK machine. He can attack 3 times. And then if he leaves the field, you can just special summon 3 your cubic cards right back. So definitely the recursion. Same thing with Endoria Doomvolt, just more the recursion, especially special summoning often the unification trap. So definitely good there. And Gira Guile, because it's just nice to burn your opponent for 800 and cob with him for a game. It's scummy, but the option is there. So definitely that option's available. Then we have, of course, 3 Summoner Monk. This is your secondary normal summon the deck. I mean, he basically gets you into your Duza. He is basically a 1 card, say rank 4 for the deck, so definitely good for him. Just basically a way to get spells and traps to the graveyard so you can do the trigger, well, let's say the banish effects, and also bring out Duza if you don't open with him, so definitely really good. And then our last monster is Birdman, just a tuner. As it helps you go into Black Rose, just to nuke the field in case your opponent tries to, say, build a board. You can just try to nuke it and bait out one of their negates or something like that, so you have more options for your plays, say during your turn. Now for your spells, 3 Karma. This is your main spell you want to send to the grave. On activation, it is a booster. You can banish... you can send 1 cubic monster you control except for Vijam. Send any number of Vijams from your hand or deck to the graveyard, so you can send all 3 or any amount you want. And then that cubic card that you say target gains 800 attack for every Vijam is sent. So it's a big boost, definitely. But the main effect that you're mostly going to be doing if this card's in your graveyard, can banish it. You can add 1 cubic monster from your deck to your hand. So it's basically your Rhoda for the deck. Like, it searches everything. Go into that. Now the new ones. We have 3 Cubic Dharma. Now this is a cool new card. I really like it. 1, you take no battle damage involving your cubic monster, so kind of nullifies, say protects you in that aspect. Also, you can use one of these effects per turn. So you can send 1 cubic card from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, draw 1 card. So it kind of fixes your dead hands, sends some spells to the graveyard or traps you can trigger off their banish effects, and then just basically dig deeper for your resources that you need. Definitely a cool little recycler on that. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 cubic monster in your graveyard and then add it back to your hand. So we now have a way to reoccur our Crimson Nova. So it's a way to bring him back to the hand and re-special summon him in case he does get outed, which is insane. So it's really good there. 3 Cubic Wave. This is an insane card. Basically one of your cubic monsters' attack is doubled, and then you can target one of your opponent's monsters and their attack is halved. It feeds the OTK machine in this deck insanely well. And then also it has a cool graveyard banish effect where you can banish this and any number of cubic monsters, and you can place cubic counters on that many monsters, as the amount of monsters you banished. So definitely a way to shut down your opponent's monsters effect and just make them vulnerable for this OTK attack. Then, of course, the card that dumps all your spell and traps. 3 Foolish Burial Goods. It's just a way to access your wave a lot easier and get your cubic combo off a lot sooner and a lot more consistent. Definitely a recommended 3 of. The 2 of Forbidden Lands. I always love this card in cubics no matter what. In case your opponent tries to out your cubic a lord with a card effect or a spell or trap, you can just say activate this and make him immune from spell and traps until I say the end of the turn. So it's really good. I mean, he does take an 800 attack loss, but taking the fact that he's out, it's just another form of disruption for your opponent. So they have to extend more into outing your cubic, say Crimson Nova. So definitely a good card on that. Draw power, budget option. Allure of Darkness is definitely a budget option. But if you do have the budget, you can replace these for Extravagance. This deck doesn't really care for its extra deck as much, so Extravagance is definitely a better option than Allure. But if your budget, Allure is just as good. You rock tons of dark, so I say Allure is almost live in your hand, so it's always good. And then another draw spell, Card Destruction. I mean, you want to dump your spells and traps to the grave, so if you do open a not a good hand, but you open a wave or a Karma or something like that, it's something to get the ball rolling. And then you can start, say, fresh with a whole new hand, and plus it disrupts your opponent as well, so they have to think of a new strategy. And then a board wipe as well, just something your opponent has to look out for is 1 Raigeki. Just something more your opponent has to prepare for and just keep an eye out. So that ends it for the spells. Now we're going to go to the traps. 2, Unification. I say cut this down to 3 because you don't really need to see it as much. On field, it is a polymerization for your dark, I say your Crimson Trinity, so there's that. But in its graveyard effect, if a cubic monster is destroyed a battle or leaves the field, you can banish this card from your graveyard and spell summon a level 4 or lower cubic monster from your hand or deck. So it's just a way to keep your resources and your advantage going. So in case one of your cubic monsters gets outed or you link it away, it's a way to extend into your resources and go up higher. 2 of the new traps. Cubic Casualty. Now this card's pretty good. You can struggle as many cubic counters on face-up monsters your opponent controls up to the number of cubic monsters you control. So it's a good just overall board and like just say end your say opponent's monsters effects really good. But then you can banish your this card from your graveyard and then target 1 cubic monster you control. This turn, each time it destroys a monster by battle that has a cubic counter on it, it burns your opponent equal to that monster's attack. So it's just more of a way to OTK and get things going and just end the game as fast as possible. So insane. And then the last trap, 1 Cubic Ascension. See, on field, see when your opponent clears an attack, you can spell summon a Vision from your deck. So it's a way to put a wall to defend you more, so you can live and say OTK the next turn. And then if you do, well, of course, it turns the attack target to itself. And then if your opponent's life points are 2,000 higher, or at least 2,000 higher, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 cubic, say Vision, say from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Then if your opponent controlled the monster when this effect was activated, you can special summon it up to 2 more. So it's a way to flood the field, say with your Visions, but it comes up ever so often. That's why it's only really at 1. I mean, there's only certain situations that you really need it in. So definitely only at 1 it's recommended. But that does it for the main deck. Now we're going to go off into the extra deck. Extra deck is not really as important as really because you can sub an Extravagance. But extra deck, it's kind of just generic. 1 cubic, say Crimson Nova, because you can make them. It does come up, but mostly when it does come up, you're just going to kill them anyway. For your seed plays, 1 Gustav Max, just more burn. go for game. And then for your defensive, say if your opponent makes you go first, say more of a defensive play with your Superdora, you have those options available. For back row, of course, this deck really wants to shut down, meaning you can shut down your opponent so they can say don't disrupt you during your OTK. Say Tornado Dragon to remove any problematic back row. Abyss Dweller to shut down the graveyard effects. Especially if you go first. One Exton Knight, just more board wipe. Castel, just spot removal. Star Leads, Photon Dragon, pretty cool because it grants protection to any monsters whose attack is 2,000 points or higher. So it just gives another wall your opponent has to out, especially to guard your Crimson Nova a little bit more to protect him because he is still vulnerable to spell and traps. One Dark Rebellion because it's OTK. I mean, you want big beaters out there. One Giant Hand, it's there. It's a monster negation. If you do have the option available, because I couldn't find them, you can sub this out for Utopia and Utopia Double and throw a double or nothing in the deck and go for the that Utopia, say OTK, say double or nothing package, which is really, really good, especially if it's a theme OTK. Then one Time Thief Redoer because it's just really good. One Black Rose because we can just go into him if we open up with Birdman, just say blow up the field, just another say bait out for your opponent. Then say Underclock Taker for pushing for OTKs. One Pentastag for piercing because Crimson Nova doesn't have piercing, so it can open up for piercing, so just more damage. So when he does the burn at the end, it just increases the chance you're just going to kill him outright. And then of course one Link Karibo because Evision, we can link him off, make a Link Karibo, and just go for plays from there. But that pretty much does it for the updated Cubics. The deck definitely has come a long way. The new support definitely opens up new routes for the deck, which is really cool. But in the end, the deck is still, at this core, just a big OTK want deck. It really just wants to kill your opponent within 1 or 2 turns. After that, if your opponent does start grinding you out, the grind game is difficult for this deck to keep up with because it's just meant to try to kill. So keep that in mind when you do say bring it out, because this deck, I mean, it can take games if your opponent is not prepared for it, and a cubic matchup is definitely something people do not prepare for. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe like always. And as always, until my next video, bye-bye.